It's time for the rant.
It is indeed.
The rant.
This should be good.
I don't know. What, the rant?
Yeah.
Well, that's the pre-talk. Yeah. He's talking about the pre-talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The talk before the talk.
The talk before the talk?
Yeah. And then at some point he hits the button and I don't know.
And the magic happens.
Yes.
Sometimes he hits the button.
It's that anticipation.
It is. You know, I didn't ask you, how was that wrestling
I wish he would do it.
Today?
I wish he would hit the button so we could get going.
Business podcast
okay.
with Cory Mosley.
Today? Now's a good time.
Wrestling tournament was good.
Good.
Yeah. A little strange.
Yeah?
I mean, the outfits, dude.
Oh, the unitards?
Yeah. A bunch of pre and post pubescent boys running around in unitards.
That's why I played basketball.
Is that why? Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't care what you... listen, I'm going to tell you, those Romans.
Yes.
I mean, we know that they were into a lot of stuff. So
that's correct.
I got to believe there's some... I don't know. But it was interesting to watch from a sport perspective.
Yeah.
And to see some people who, had no business... Even like, why are you there?
Right.
And then really some people that were there to do work.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw people getting that work put on them in 17 seconds.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, some
those
serious
guys,
business.
there's no play. Those guys are tough.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones that are
around
committed
looking like a coach.
Yeah.
I had kind of a coach look.
You had shoulders back.
Yeah.
Chin
Yeah.
up.
I had a branded shirt on. It said Mosley on it. So I could have been Mosley Wrestling or something. Who knows what it is?
That's right.
So
Team Mosley.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
Speaking of coaching.
Indeed.
Speaking of coaching,
as a matter of
you
fact,
are at the right place to,
yes, indeed,
to get some coaching. I would call it that. Some strategy, some conversation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about being none other than at the Grow Business Podcast. This is the place to, we put it in the name to make it simple, to grow your business. I'm your host, Cory Mosley. I feel like I need another one of those. Hit me again.
There you go.
Ooh, we turned it up to
Indeed.
woo. Woo. I'm feeling so feisty. Mornings are always, it's morning time for us here. So it's always good.
That's right.
I think that's always good. So
Indeed.
I'm super excited to be here. Co-pilot, co-captain on the business growth spaceship. He's here in teal today. LG007 Lon Graham is here.
Voice of reason.
It's good to be here, Cory.
Sometimes it's a voice of reason. Sometimes it's a voice of reason. As usual, we don't push these buttons ourselves.
That's correct.
We rely on Willie H is here.
Hit the buttons, William.
That's right. We'll see how he does. We'll start to grade him. Email me after each show and grade Willie H on his performance. Yeah. We can figure out how to use that, use the negative comments to
there you go.
to help him get better. Yeah. Now he's just gonna hit all of them today.
Right.
So listen, I think we've got another show. I mean, we've got to people don't have a sense, but our show, we really produce this show in really a near real time pace.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not, we don't shoot shows months in advance and these things. So, and the reason why we do that is a couple of reasons. One, it allows us, our focus here is to, help you grow your business. And I think one of the ways that we have to do that is by staying at the front of the learning curve.
Correct.
And helping you do that too.
Right.
So obviously we base our show. What?
Well done.
It was crooked. That's it. If you watch the video version of our, I have to make an adjustment there. But we base our show around my principles, the 5 principles of business growth. I think every business growth challenge falls into one of those categories: mindset, sales, marketing, operations, and people. You had it written there just in case I went to them. We cover these topics more extensively in my latest book, Position for Growth, which of course is now shipping on Amazon, also via CoryMosley.com. So I encourage you to pick up a copy of that. I've been getting questions about the Audible from my auditory friends, and that is coming soon. Let's call it summer.
Right.
Let's call it summer. We'll have that. I really just have to sit down and I just really have to sit down and do it. So that's the rub. as they
Yeah.
say. Yeah. So
Well, the good news
um,
is that time is hard to come by right now
mm,
because you're busy
yeah.
and business is good right now.
Well, you always have to. There's people who are busy.
Right.
Sometimes there's busy work,
Correct.
and then there's busy.
Right.
So you're maybe sowing seeds
Correct.
also, in a business productivity manner.
There you go. Absolutely.
Let's just provide clarity to that, just in case we've got some various characters that
We
are
do.
listeners here.
We do.
So having said all that, it allows us to stay timely. Having a short runway in terms of literally
Sure.
producing this allows us to stay on top of that, and many times that is current events. So today, there's no way we can have a business podcast
Correct.
where we don't address the latest news affecting our economy relative to tariffs and economic uncertainty.
Sure.
So what we're going to be talking about today is thriving through tariffs and economic uncertainty
Okay.
for small business owners.
Sure.
Now, we're going to do that not in the I don't know about you. I'm not an economist.
I'm
So I
not
don't know
either.
if you've got a secret. So we're not really here to debate from a political standpoint
Right.
the scenario. But like most things that have happened in history and happen in our daily lives as business owners, as entrepreneurs, whatever the circumstance,
Right.
we still have to find a way.
Right.
Whether that was COVID,
Right.
whether that was the Great Depression before our times,
Correct.
before your time, right, Lon?
Right.
Okay,
way
just
before
double
my time.
checking.
Way.
Okay, so just double checking. But we have to adapt. That's what we do as
Correct.
not only as a society, but as a global business community.
Yes.
You have no choice.
Correct.
And some of that sometimes that has short-term difficult outcomes
Right.
for people, and creates opportunity, creates again. General Motors was formed in a down economy. Uber was formed in a down
Right.
economy. So, not going to get into the politics of it, but what we want to do is try to share some tools, tactics, and strategies that even have to apply to us
Correct.
in our daily lives, in the context, as always, of mindset, sales, marketing, operations, and people.
Correct.
And that's how we're going to approach this here, is we're going to use the 5 pillars and talk about some things within that.
Yeah, and I think you set this up well, Cory. We're not debating the politics and the value of whether or not
Yeah.
it's good or bad. What we're saying is it's the world we live in,
Correct.
and so
How
do we live in it
Right.
and try and be successful at
That's
it?
right. Exactly right. And that's what we're going to cover. So we're going to do this systematically.
Okay.
And we're going to mirror the 5 pillars. And of course, this is even makes more sense
Right.
if you own a copy of Position for Growth, right? Because now it's like,
100%.
oh, I know exactly where I know exactly the order. I know where we're going here. So
100%.
encourage everybody to do that. All right. So let's talk about pillar 1,
Okay.
which is mindset.
Right.
So I think what we're to do is let's do 3 or 4 kind of bullets in each.
Okay.
I think that keeps it robust, and that really, you're right there.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right. That keeps it robust and also kind of makes it palatable, because I want everything always to be actionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could pick one and go down one for
Yeah.
5 hours. So let's pick
Yeah.
a couple of points in
Correct.
each one.
Yeah, I think that's the easy
Good
way
idea.
to do it. Easy, not easy, but smartest and most efficient way, I should
Correct.
say, to do it. Now, before we get to that,
Okay.
we have a special guest listener that we want to shout out.
Yes.
Your sister,
My sister Ellen.
Ellen. Yeah, we'll just do first names. The sister, that would be the voice of reason sibling,
Correct.
possibly.
Correct.
Now, is she wiser than you, old
yeah.
sage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah,
Much
all
more.
of it. Better
Okay.
looking, wiser,
Yes.
nicer, all of it.
Well, we want to thank her. She brought in some. She sent via LG 007
Right.
some lovely pastries.
Yes.
Willie H. I don't think Willie H. knew about that yet, but
Not yet.
Willie H. in the ops office is some lovely pastry that it's got diabetes written all over it.
It does. It's in
About to set all the CGMs off.
right.
Do 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 do. But we want to thank her. It's a strange society we live in.
It is.
Because, the equivalent of showing like love and affection and those things
Right.
is let me raise that A1C for you.
That's right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
It's like, I had some ice cream the other day. And my wife's like, thank you. I'm like, did I really do us a service here?
Right.
I probably did us a disservice.
Yeah.
But man, it's delicious.
Well, that's a great example of mindset. How do you look at it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you better believe it.
So shout out to Ellen. Thank you for the pastries. We will be taking a peeky poo at those.
Yeah, absolutely.
After the show. We're gonna bring some on here, but I don't know. People want to hear me chewing for 45 minutes.
Well, and I will say this is proof that it made it here. Because there's a high likelihood
that you would have eaten it.
That it wasn't going to make it all the way to the store.
Look at that, LG.
So I'm looking out for you here.
Oh, wow.
She made it for y'all.
Wow.
There you go.
Now, Ellen, I don't know how much you sent, but there's only about a thimble full.
It's a taste test.
Remind me, I have to tell you this story one time when my family brought over a half-eaten turkey to Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, there's a story there. All right, so let's jump right in. Yeah. You didn't pick through the turkey already. Who does that? Whew. It's always that one side of the family. It's always that one side. All right, so mindset. Okay,
Yes.
So here's what I'm gonna say. Fortify. That is the word when it comes to mindset through what's going on here. We really want people to be thinking about fortifying their mental framework.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? Well, number one, adopting a prepared, not panicked mentality.
Yes.
Because what's interesting is there's two sides to this coin.
Right.
Some people set this out to be the greatest train wreck in the history of the economy.
Correct.
And then I have friends and business owner colleagues who simply say, we were due for a correction.
Right.
We needed a correction. Things got overinflated and unrealistic post-COVID in an effort to recover the economy there. People got too high on the hog, and this was a natural correction. I'm not here to debate either of those things, but the message here is adopting prepared, not panic. Train yourself and your team to operate with calm, calculated responses rather than reactive decisions.
Well, and I think that's perfect, right? Because the way that tariffs and the way that the policies of this administration are reported are designed to instill some panic. So if you can take a step back and say, okay, what are we dealing with? And then, like you talk about, sit down and do it from a prepared standpoint. Sit down with your team and say, okay, understand where this might affect you, and put together, okay, if these are going to affect us this way, then what can we do to minimize the impact of that? Or is there something that we can lean into to actually take advantage of an opportunity? But it's sitting down and saying, okay, this is the reality of the world we live in, like we started this conversation. What do we have the ability to control and influence and do something about, and focus on that, and not all of the other things that may or may not impact us. And even if they did, we don't have any control over them anyway.
Right. Nothing? Okay. Willie H.
He's eating some Ellen's pastry over there.
Asleep behind the wood. He's like, no, there was nothing to say there.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right. What, Indeed.com? What is it? Where
That's one of them.
ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
We're linked to LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter.
Is there? Yeah. Podcast engineer who pushes the buttons.
Well, he's got his
job description. Push the buttons.
He's got
at the optimal time.
He's got a daughter that's apparently really talented with electronics.
Oh, yes. Second generation on the way. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
He was bragging on it. So
I love it. Shout out to the future Willie H family members.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. We don't want people searching online.
No.
All right. Shift from growth only.
Yes.
To resilience.
Okay.
Focused thinking. So ultimately, really maybe some adjustments in your decision making.
Right.
Making decisions that balance growth and long-term survivability.
Right.
So sometimes it's everybody's, growth,
Right.
gas. Okay, great. We want let's maybe have a little break if we haven't already.
Right. Well, and we talk about the Grow Business podcast. Certainly there's short-term and long-term growth. If you have some plans maybe to do, and we've talked about this before in recent episodes about, we're looking at your operations, and we'll get to the operations in a minute. But if you've got some things that you have planned to invest in, and maybe you decide, okay, let's wait this out and see what happens in a month or 2 months or 3 months.
Right.
And maybe we hold off on that investment and we use that. But you think about, okay, what are things we can control as a business owner and as a leader in the business? What are things that we can control? Because you're claiming ownership at that point, which reduces your panic and which reduces your anxiety.
Yeah.
This might be a guy I want to work with.
Oh, who? How nice. We got something. LG 007 for our efforts here.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. Well, thank you, Willie H.
Hit the buttons, William.
Please do. Okay. Next up.
All right.
I like this one.
Okay.
Stay informed, not consumed.
Correct.
I think that's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Choose your 2 or 3 trusted sources.
Correct.
For your economic tariff updates, and then learn to filter noise to avoid decision fatigue.
Yeah, and that's such a good one, Cory. Now, you've got people that you get insight from and business insight from, and you're listening to us, so thank you for that. We appreciate that. Those are the people you want to continue to get insight from. And then if you have questions that they can't answer for you, then you can start to look for other pieces of input and other pieces of information.
Right.
But if you've got a lane that you're in, don't go looking to go off road and get lost in this consumption of negativity.
And maybe those 2 to 3 sources don't necessarily have the same opinions.
Oh, ideally they don't.
Right?
Right.
So, because it's easy to get in a mob mentality where, you're not going to have any contrast there. So I don't have any again, not to get political, but just in the general sense, I don't have any problem toggling through Fox, CNN, MSNBC to listen to different perspectives.
100%.
Right? Because you will get different perspectives on the same topic. Right. So I think there's a value to just hear. You don't have to agree, but maybe there's something you didn't consider from the other. So again, it's like the same thing when we talk about those 2 points of views from a tariff perspective.
Correct.
If I only listen to the people that were like, this is the worst thing in the history of Earth, if you only listen to that, then all that's going to be reinforced. And you leave no room for, well, you know what? Maybe this was a market correction. Maybe we did need this. Maybe we would, long term, we'll probably come historically, in these situations, we generally come back more, stronger.
Correct.
Potentially record.
More stable economy.
Record runs.
Right.
So again, different, but having those resources, having just your resources, but again, not, oh God, Cory, I can't function.
Right.
Getting texting every 15 minutes. Did you hear what just happened? Did you hear what just happened?
Right.
So I think that fundamentally becomes an approach.
Well, and it's it's easy to go down, we call it a rabbit hole, or it's easy to go into immersive consumption because there's so much information available.
Right.
And I think you stay with what you trust, like you said, Cory. Have people that you trust that have a couple of different perspectives, and then take the pieces of that you can use for your own benefit. Understanding that one person's going to have a perspective based on their experience and their understanding and studying and knowledge. Another person that you listen to is going to have their perspective, and it's their perspective because it's where they came from, what they know, and what they study. And you're going to be able to take some things probably from both of them that are going to benefit you, but use it like, okay, what can I get from this information, as opposed to how can I? Again, you go back to panic or prepare, right?
Right.
This is a way to prepare to move forward and continue to be successful.
Yeah.
Voice of reason.
Oh, yeah, there. I mean, I'm the one that said the
Right.
line, stay informed, not consumed. I got bupkis for that there.
Right.
Okay.
Which was a good one.
All right. Last one on this
Right.
topic.
Correct.
Last podcast. Practice scenario planning.
Okay.
So run some mental or even team-based what-if exercises.
Okay.
What if costs rise 15%?
Right.
What if we lose a supplier?
Right.
What are some of those contingency plans? So, it's a guy who used to work for me, was plan for the, what is it? Plan for the best, prepare for the worst?
Oh, right.
Or something like that.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, plan for the best, prepare for the worst. I think that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds right.
You get what I'm saying.
I understand 100%. Right.
Now, obviously, these are the types of drills that or municipalities run, like in terms of fire drill. Like think of it as a fire drill, right?
Correct.
So
Right.
you don't count on the building catching on fire, but you certainly want to know what to do,
Right.
if that happens. So this becomes just what would we do? Don't wait till it happens and wait till we get there. But
Right.
what will we do if?
Well, and this is such a great point, Cory, and especially the people that are listening to us, or business owners and leaders in small businesses. You're going 100 miles an hour,
Mhm.
and you're going 100 miles an hour, and you're going 100 miles an hour, because a lot of times you're trying to keep up instead of strategize how you take the next step.
Right.
And this is a great reminder to create space so that you can do some strategy. Build into your calendar an hour where you turn everything off.
Right.
Where you turn your phone off, you turn your TV off, you tune the social media off, and just sit down and say, okay, what happens if the maximum tariff gets enacted that impacts the business that I'm in, whether it's supplies that you have to buy but come up with a scenario, what happens there? And then you look at the other side of it. Well, what happens if these things make it easier for me to get access to resources? How can I maximize that? But what you're saying is create space so that you can think through this clearly. And what business owners struggle to do often is to create space for that. So what
Right.
we're saying here is, from a mindset standpoint, create space so that you can think through this without all of that
And
noise.
this is and the conversation here is tactical.
Correct.
This isn't, oh, these guys are telling us to throw a pity party or start worrying about
Right.
things, because we started with prepared, not panicked, right?
Correct.
So
right.
it's not go looking for problems.
No. Right.
But if
Right. Well, it's understanding where problems can exist
Right.
and understanding where profit and possibility can exist.
if the water started coming in
Right.
the studio, I know where I'm going.
Right. Yes.
And I hope you all are safe when we get there. But I know where I'm going.
Right. And it's not.
I'm not going, oh my goodness, the water's coming out. What should I do?
Right, we probably-
LG Double, what should we do here? No, I'll see you
Right, exactly.
at the at the drop point.
And we know where the exits are. And we know.
yeah,
right,
hopefully
exactly.
you're there.
Right. Well, and the water's a
and I'm calling my insurance agent while I'm walking there.
100%. Right. That's the first. Well, make sure your wife's safe.
Yeah,
and
there
the
you go.
next
Oh, yeah,
call
all
is-
that stuff.
Next call is your insurance agent.
Willie ain't you good? All right.
We're done. But I think that's
Jake.
That's a great.
Jake.
That's a great.
Where you at, Jake? Like a good neighbor. Where's Jake?
Right. Absolutely. Well, and to your point though, Cory, is the water is an example of being prepared for a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason sprinklers in buildings were invented is to protect against fires, to protect people against fires that could occur. So if somebody sat
All right,
down.
stop hitting me with this breakthrough information here.
All right, let's go. Right.
Sprinklers are here to. All right.
But
we're
that's
halfway
a-
through the show. We're only on pillar 2. So
But that's an example of
pick up the
somebody
pace.
looking at a situation through a clear lens
Yeah.
and saying, "How do I solve it?" Which is
That
what
right
we're
there.
talking
There
about.
you go.
Right.
All right. So let's move on to sales.
Perfect.
So we're going to pillar 2, sales.
Okay.
Selling smarter in a price conscious climate.
Okay.
Because a lot of this conversation is about what will be affected on prices.
Yes.
Car prices going up, different things, different situations. Now, that may not mean people stop buying.
Right.
It may change how they buy, what they buy, how much they buy,
Correct.
and yes, when.
Correct.
Economist was talking about, something as simple as a washing machine.
Mm.
now you see the price increase.
Right.
Because even if you're buying American, it's not necessarily all American parts.
Correct.
So it's still an effect there. So now all of a sudden, you may be inclined to wait this out.
Correct.
So yes, you would have normally gone out next Tuesday
Right.
and got yourself a new dryer because maybe the dryer's not as efficient anymore.
Right.
But now you don't.
Right.
And you wait it out. So now you're going to run them drawers through twice to get them dry. Like you want them to be.
Hold on, Buckaroo.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that piece. But so let's go. So let's throw a couple here. One, leaning into value selling. So what you should be doing anyway, but shift focus from pricing to outcomes.
Correct.
Reinforce the ROI, reinforce the savings, reinforce the stress reduction that your product or service delivers.
Yeah. And I think this is a great opportunity to get involved with your best customers at a different level. Best customers, best clients. Pick up the phone and talk to a couple of your best clients and say, how's this going to impact your business or what you're doing? And is that going to impact the business that we're doing? And understand, there are going to be some people, like you said, that they're going to hold off on some short-term decisions. There are going to be some people that have the capacity to take advantage of signing some long-term agreements. So understanding where your clients are in that space, what kind of cash reserves they have, or do they see opportunities for these tariffs to impact and increase their business because maybe it's bringing some business back to the States that they're going to be able to capture. So understanding where your business fits with your clients and what this is going to look like for them. And then it gives you some guidance too on how do I sell differently, or do I?
That's right.
Does it change how I sell at all?
Right. No, that's excellent. Number two, incentivize cash flow. Look at you getting ahead. Incentivize cash flow with prepay offers.
Correct.
Right? Offering small discounts for prepaid commitments, longer term contracts, shores up working capital.
Correct. Absolutely.
And you have companies, again, not every company is, living off of that month's revenue, right? So you have situations where they're in position to take advantage of that and create greater security in your business, even if that's about raw materials,
right?
So that may not always be about the complete, the car business now. This will obviously be very good for them in the short term,
right? For
people who were going to put something off till summer,
right,
and now want to take action and take advantage of now,
right?
But will they pay the price for that? Like, are you taking from the market?
Right.
Right. Am I taking June sales and packing them into April now because of economic circumstances that then I pay for in June?
Right.
We'll see.
Correct.
But there certainly is an incentive there, to do that. And then let me do the last two and then bring you back in. Next one, target your most resilient customers.
Right. So
prioritize outreach to industries and businesses that typically perform well or are less impacted during downturns.
Right.
It's like, even if you think about real estate, and I recently sat down with the head of the Virginia Real Estate Association.
Oh, okay.
On one of our shows. And even if you think about real estate, you've got a scenario where people still need to live. I mean, people still need housing.
Correct.
So, and even inside that economy, now, if you are selling new construction, you might be affected in a different way than pre-owned, pre-loved, home sales, right? Because now I'm not concerned about lumber. I'm not concerned about, some of those things that could get affected, steel or concrete or different factors here in that environment. So there's still these dynamics that are available. It truly is what side of the fence you're on.
Right. Well, and a good word for that is nuanced, right? Because like you said, if you're in new construction and you're continuing to get, this is a great example. Some of these builders that know that they're going to be building, let's say a community with 500 houses in it. Well, they're going to get a commitment. Maybe they sign a long-term commitment for supplies, so they're price locked and guaranteed. So this isn't going to affect them as much,
right?
And then there's others that are getting a later start that it's going to affect them more. But again, it's an example of, understanding your client's tolerances, understanding your customers' tolerances, and where is this going to impact them so that you can make decisions about how you're doing business with them.
Yep. I like
Maybe this guy can help me.
it. There you go. Okay. Revisit customer segments.
Okay.
Last one, not as sexy, but important.
Right.
Adjust messaging and focus based on who is most likely to still buy under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's again, knowing who your ideal client is
Yeah.
and knowing who your current clients are and navigating, does your ideal client, does that avatar shift a little bit because the economy or because of the market is shifted a little bit? Doesn't mean you discard or get rid of somebody, but maybe it means that for the short term, you target somebody who was a second tier client and now you move them up to a first tier client.
Here's where I can tell you I didn't see concern. The mall.
Right. Right.
The mall this past weekend
Right.
was gangbusters.
Was it?
People eating. Now, I'm observant,
Right.
right, by nature. So I think there's certainly some things that have gotten out of control. I saw $13.59 mozzarella sticks.
Right.
So I just don't have mozzarella sticks. Like,
Right.
that's just excessive to me.
Correct.
Not even about the. I was having this conversation with a long time, one of my first clients, and now good friends, and certainly in a position to buy whatever he wants on the menu.
Right.
But it's just there's a principle involved.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying you're gouging. I'm not saying the cost of cheese hasn't gone up and
Right.
breading, and I'm not. It's just that's just not for me.
Right.
Like there's just not a $13.50 mozzarella stick
Right.
that's out there for me.
Well, and I think what you're saying, Cory, and it is in line with mindset and sales combined, is people have established thresholds
Yeah,
that they're willing to accept.
correct.
And once you cross that threshold, you say, well, that's no longer for me at that point.
Right.
And so this is what we're talking about sales, understanding those clients.
Mhm.
And so like you said, not if the mall is busy, not everybody's impacted. Either
Right.
that or they're all trying to get ahead of the tariff that they think is
Right.
coming.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, let's move to marketing.
Okay.
So shifting,
Mhm.
market with empathy and urgency.
Yes.
Because a lot of times that conversation from a marketing tactic does connect with the idea of scarcity.
Yes.
Sometimes that's fabricated. But obviously now there clearly is a model
Correct.
that certainly is creating urgency in the market. So I'm going to give you the points. Okay. Communicate stability and leadership.
Okay.
Address current pain points head on.
Okay.
Double down on organic channels.
Okay.
And then test recession-proof offers. Now we'll swing back around. So we'll go back to one, communicate stability and leadership. And this is simply the idea that people will buy from brands that show confidence and consistency during chaos.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and the short version of that is, because we go long ways, short version of that is we understand that there's some changes in the market. We're still here.
Yeah.
And if you have these problems that we solve, now's a great time to talk about it.
And you know, it politics, just as controversial as sports.
Correct.
But you and I were talking about the recent basketball game.
Yes.
And I couldn't help as I watched that game. I don't want to use the word disappointed because I'm not a sports person,
Right.
but as an observer of people and being exposed to a lot of leaders in my lifetime,
Right.
it was very jarring. Did you see the game that I'm talking about?
I saw about 5
Okay.
minutes of it because
It
I
was
was on the
very
road.
jarring once it became evident that they weren't going to win.
Right.
It seemed like all of the leadership, as they cut, and I'm not going to say who, but as
Right.
they cut to the coach,
Right.
back and forth as things were happening.
Right.
That coach, I'm not even going to identify gender.
Right.
That coach, well, I guess I just did indirectly, but that coach looked like they had given up.
Mm.
There was no certainty.
Right.
There was no fight.
Right.
The coach wasn't even standing.
Okay.
And I just couldn't help think, wow, how that translates.
Right.
Even though you're upset,
Right.
even though you wish they were doing better, but man, what's the term? Never let them see you sweat.
Right.
It just, it was interesting to see such a high regarded coach just kind of turn into mush
Right.
under adversity. And what does that say to your
team, right?
Yeah. So I just thought about that when you were making that point, when we were talking about this
Well,
point.
you talking about never let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
The other saying is stand up in the face of adversity, stand up in the face of, and stand up and face adversity.
Yeah.
Because the more challenges that you're facing, the more you need to be in front of the people that need you. And so people on your team, your clients, your customers, what you're saying, Cory, is this. You're saying in your marketing and in your messaging, make sure that people know that you're not going anywhere. And even if you don't have it all figured out,
Right.
you have confidence that you're going to figure it out, and you're going to figure it out for them and with them.
Voice of
There you
reason.
go. Boom.
The other thing I think people, we were talking about, I forget, we were talking about in an episode earlier, we were talking about marketing,
Mhm.
and I forget the specifics of it. But, I think about marketing as bait. And when the environment changes, so let's say you're fishing and you're using bait to catch fish.
Yeah.
If you're trying to catch a different fish, you're going to use different bait. If it's raining while you're fishing, you're going to use different bait than it is if it's sunny. If the water's warm or the
Right.
water's cold, you're going to use different bait. And so what we're saying here is understand that the environment changed. And so maybe you need to use a little bit different bait to attract those clients or those customers.
Yeah, no, good point. And I think that leads us into the next thing, which is address current pain points head on.
100%.
Right. So don't ignore what's happening.
Right.
Like, oh, we're going to put blinders on, Cory,
Right.
and there's run on race.
Right.
So don't ignore it. Adapt the messaging to
Right.
speak to the fears, whether it's supply and concerns, rising costs, uncertainty.
Right.
As leverage, again, not to take advantage.
Right.
I hope we don't have listeners who have products and services that are, fraudulent or
Correct.
deceptive or deceiving. So I'm always speaking to the person that's out there trying to do good business, out there with a good, solid product or
Right.
service, really trying to help solve whatever the problem is that they're trying to solve for their client.
Right.
So I always operate from that mindset
100%.
first. So this
Right.
isn't how can we take advantage of the market, but
Right.
how can I get more of my products and services that
Right.
are valuable, that do solve a problem in the hands of people who need them.
Right. And you're 100% right. And we both operate from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is this is the Grow Business podcast. And as a reminder, in times of uncertainty, some people are going to grow and some people are going to struggle. What we're talking about here today is if you offer something, we expect that you offer a solid product. We expect that you offer solid service. And there's going to be some opportunities for you to take advantage of this environment so that you can grow your business. And
Right.
what we're trying to do is create some framework for you so that you can think about, okay, what can I do and how can I maximize this for me? Because when you grow your business, you're growing your people and you're growing your resources and you're growing your community.
That's right. There you go. Nothing.
Nothing.
Come on,
Voice
dude.
of
We got all those buttons. Folks, before we start recording, while we sit here, while Willie H goes through all the various things in his arsenal. And then what do we get? I think this guy can help me. Voice of reason. We get 3 things. What is going on here? Woo! All right. Double down on organic channels, tight
Right.
budgets, what have you. So, increase your storytelling.
Right.
Video. Utilize
Yeah.
video. You don't necessarily need a fancy studio to do that.
Right.
You can do that from your phone as well. SEO-rich content, things that don't require a big spend. And then test recession-proof offers. So can you create or package lower-tier options? Are there
Right.
things you can bundle?
Right.
Are there must-have versions of your product or service that can help people take action now?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the thing that you said, and I'll summarize it this way, is understand what you have to offer can provide support and service to your clients in a way that's going to benefit them now. And so what we're saying is once you figured out what you have, and we always go back to that local Ford dealer, don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. Once you figure out what you can do,
Right.
then create that offer for your clients in a way that's going to appeal to them. And that's what we're talking about with marketing.
There it is. All right. Operations. Flex don't freeze. Build a buffer into your supply chain.
Right.
Monitor and adjust pricing frequently. Cut what doesn't convert.
Right.
I did this with a lot of businesses during COVID.
Yeah.
Protect your margins through efficiency. So, build buffer into your supply chain, right? We talked about this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. So we're running out of time. But,
sure.
Pre-order, diversify suppliers.
Right.
Maybe you have to seek a supplier that's in a non-tariff zone if there is such a thing, but it's worth looking into.
Right.
Or a lower tariff zone country. So explore local sourcing. So maybe you hadn't considered local because you were getting such a great deal with something overseas.
Right.
Now maybe time to reevaluate that. Maybe something you didn't even pay attention to for a while. So explore local sourcing, monitor and adjust pricing. So let's make it a monthly practice to check your COGS, cost of goods sold for those that may not resonate with. But gross margin, also pricing elasticity.
Right.
Because a lot of people operate under a set it, forget it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Corey, I don't want to mess up a good thing. We don't go looking. And now, when there's opportunities. Technology advanced, things have come along. I re-looked at a piece of software that, 2 years ago was inadequate. Now it's like, whoa, all right. They stepped up and they're price competitive because they want to be taken seriously in here.
Right.
Let me leverage that,
right.
For the things moving forward. And that's why you are the best.
Perfect.
All right. I'll take it.
And the other side of this too is, there are companies that have positioned themselves to take advantage of opportunities because whether they have cash reserves or whether they have assets that are convertible specifically for times like this. And the operations side, now might be the time to take a look at, is this an opportunity for me to put my foot on the gas and maximize some things that I've been holding out for?
Yep, I like it. Cut what doesn't convert. Run a quick audit. If a system, platform, or vendor isn't directly supporting profitability, you may have to reduce or replace it.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's small. Why just change TV streaming services?
Okay.
I felt our current provider was getting out of hand on raising prices. So I paused it, right? Not throwing it away.
Right.
Because, I don't want complete inconvenience.
Right.
But I found a provider that's half the price.
Okay.
Now we'll see what that means.
Right.
Cheap and good, as my uncle says, doesn't go together.
Right.
But it may not be the difference between cheap and good. It may be more about services or things I don't need.
Right.
I look at streaming TV. I'm like, how many channels do we actually watch?
Right. That's
not on demand or later or streamed on an app or something.
Right.
It's like there's probably a handful of channels.
Right.
So what do I need? 90 channels. I don't.
Right.
Because I don't watch 90 channels worth of TV.
Right.
So now, is the user interface? Is it cumbersome? Do I have problems with the app? Are there other little nuances? Well, we'll see. I'm gonna give it a trial run. But that cut represents almost $500 a year.
Right.
You do that 3-4 times.
Right.
I mean, I don't care what your income is. It just matters. At best, if you're not saving, if it's not about savings, it's about redistribution.
Right. Yeah.
To something that
better believe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right, now he shows up. Okay, so and then the last one, protect your margins through efficiency. So can you streamline workflows, automate where you can, standardize repetitive tasks? And again, these are things that we advocate on 24 hours a day, 365 days.
Right.
However,
when
circumstances sometimes kick us into having to look at things, so I want to be specific and particular on that.
Yeah. Well, and circumstances motivate us, and this is a circumstance that's going to motivate us. And we've talked about this, and we continue to reinforce it. And you've talked about this before with some of the clients that you work with, COVID and in the shadows of COVID. Look at what you're not using. Is there stuff that's sitting around? Especially when we're talking about companies with inventory. Is there inventory that you've got sitting on the shelf that's been on the shelf for a while?
Right.
Are you still buying that? Are you getting rid of it? Can you use it? Can you sell it to get assets for something else?
Voice of reason.
All right, let's bring this thing home. The last one, people. Keep talent engaged and lean.
Yeah. So
number one, where can you cross train? Versatility can protect your business. Make sure key roles also have backups.
Right.
So listen, times get tough. Willie H. is going to learn to make ice cream.
Bingo!
He can do it.
Right.
I have confidence.
Right. 100%.
So here we got to know how to do other stuff, right? Keep transparency high. Uncertainty breeds fear.
Right.
So communicating your plan, even if we're watching and adjusting month to month.
Right.
People don't know if they're going to have jobs or are concerned about that. You want to have an opportunity to communicate that. Also, using fractional or contract talent strategically.
Okay.
Fill skill gaps without long-term overhead when full-time hires are risky. Now, listen, I don't advocate for putting people on the unemployment line.
Right.
But as a business owner,
Right.
I have to think through the lens of how to keep the business healthy.
Right.
And sometimes there's tough decisions that have to be made along with that, or other ways to accomplish what we need that may not be ideal for all parties involved.
Yeah. And, a good example, Cory, is, when somebody leaves, do you have to replace that person with a full-time role, or can you do a fractional person or a fractional professional?
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing that you do too, you're like you talk about when you're using consultants and fractional professionals that are widely available, especially as a result of COVID. What happens is you're also not paying benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So it is in addition to not necessarily having to commit long term when you don't have the resources for long-term commitment, you're reducing your overhead by not paying that 150% of their salary over a long period of time.
Yeah. Last one on this is invest in retention now.
Right.
Non-cash incentives.
Right.
So that can be flexibility, recognition, development. The idea is to keep morale high.
Yes.
Keep loyalty high.
Right. Well, and I'm going to go back to one of the things you said in the beginning of the people piece of it is the communication.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to love what you have to say about everything because the situation doesn't dictate that that it's all ice cream and whipped cream.
Correct.
But if you're talking to them about the things that you're processing, the information, communicate to the people on your team, if they feel like you get that they're struggling too,
right.
If they feel like you are trying to address problems, if they feel like you're trying to come up with things, and part of the communication is here's what we're dealing with. Do you have ideas that I may not have considered that we could incorporate as we navigate through some of this? It also increases your team's investment in the organization.
Let the church say amen.
There you go. I like it. As we wrap, I'm going to give a little bonus today.
Okay.
And I want that bonus to be your ability to create your own resilience scorecard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I encourage you to get out a sheet of paper, pause this, rewind this, come back to it, whatever. But a simple checklist.
Yeah.
Do I have pricing flexibility?
Okay.
Are my top 3 revenue sources protected? Do I know which costs I could cut if I had to in 48 hours?
Okay.
Right? Do I know that already? Who on my team is most cross-functional that can step into other roles?
Right.
And finally, what's my plan if sales drop 20%? 5 things.
Right.
Just to have answers to.
Yeah.
And be resilient, ready.
Okay. I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
That's a great checklist.
Woo. When the church say amen.
Oh, we got a double. Bingo. See, I can make my own if all else fails, right? Go ahead.
Well, the one thing I will say is that we're talking about this during a time of potential crisis.
Yeah.
The reality of this is these are good habits to establish once this thing levels out. Like you talked about, run through your checklist once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about it now because it's something that's in our face and it's in the world that we live in because it's part of that conversation. Build this into what you're doing now and build it into your future processes. Do it for yourself so that when times aren't difficult,
right, you
can make good decisions that don't require a level of emotion that might be involved right now.
There it is.
You better believe it.
All right, we're going to leave it there.
Yeah.
If you want more information on positioning your business for growth, of course, you can start with the book. Position for Growth. Yep. Amazon.com, Position for Growth, available also at CoryMosley.com. And we want to thank you for continuing to come back. If you're a business owner and know some people that can benefit, we encourage you to share the show. We're streaming on all the major platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and both audio and video, Amazon, Apple, everywhere you are.
Right.
as I used to say on TV, everywhere you are. We're there, and we're gonna keep it moving. LG, what's your? Give us your normal. You're the white Russell Simmons when he used to do Def Comedy Jam.
Oh,
He'd come
man.
out. Thank y'all for coming out. Good night. God bless.
That's right.
But you got your version.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming back. Next time, bring a friend.
That's right. There you go. We'll leave it there. This has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. On behalf of myself, Cory Mosley, LG007, Lon Graham, and Willie H., we'll see you next time. Willie H., take us out.
Wow, the Russell Simmons pull. I was watching something.
That's what it reminds me of when you say it.
Is that? Yeah, well, now you say that.
Y'all
Yeah.
coming out. God bless. Good night.
Well, I was watching, I forget what channel it was on, but it was about black comedians and about the power that Def Comedy Jam.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And what it did for black comedians. You know,
Yeah.
Steve Harvey and Martin
Sure,
Lawrence.
sure.
I just,
D.L. Hughley, I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, anybody was
Cedric
anybody
the
went through there.
Entertainer,
So,
yeah. I mean, it's really it was like a 5 or 6 part series, but it was really, really powerful.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There you go. I always love when you're immersed. LG007's immersed.
Indeed.
Good show. Good show.
Yeah, thank you. Nicely done. Timing is
yeah.
timing's
right.
perfect for that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, well, and this is the first one that we've done in a long, long time that is really a product of the list of the 5.
Mhm.
Like we've done a good job of focusing
Breaking
on
it down
one at a
individually,
time.
yeah.
And
But it's
this
like,
is
how does this apply?
right,
Because everything, Christ, how does it apply?
right,
You know, for
yeah.
sure.
So it was a good. Yeah, well done. All right.
All right.